Good afternoon. My name is Valeria Meza, and on today's presentation, I like to talk about the how has the population been affected socially and emotionally by the pandemic. So, first of all, we're going to see the statement of the problem. This study is performed to get more information about the pandemic and its consequences when we talk about social and emotional perceptions. As an objective of this research, we want to be more informed about this topic and to invite people to inform themselves or to someone they know that is passing through this situation of pandemic so that this research can help them to evaluate the way they feel and to know how to react to this overwhelming situation that we live in today. So, the rationale of the study. So, doing this research is of utmost importance to me because I have seen throughout this year how the pandemic is affecting us in different ways to each of the human beings that inhabit the earth. And as I already said, when I say inhabit the earth, I mean every person in this world because this pandemic have been affected to all the people in the whole world in different ways. That makes this research more important. Some people may take the issue of mental health for granted, but it can have severe consequences, which is why I am conducting this study. The scope and limitations of the study. So, in this study, we will be able to describe in a general way the impact of COVID on people's mental health. Also, by reading this study, we will be able to identify all those factors that can affect us with this pandemic and have a notion of the topic. As the theme of the problems are treatable by knowing how to accept them and doing something about them, there are no limitations in our study since it is to merely to inform people and guide them to do something about it in case they are involved in the situation. A limitation it will be the lack of information about this topic. So, the review of literature. So, this study is carried out with documents, technical, and journalistic reports. Unlike other virus outbreaks of the 21st century, such as SARS and MERS, which were primarily disseminated in hospital environments, COVID-19 is unique in the way that it has spread far beyond health centers' borders. With the entire population at risk, the necessary restricting measures have created an unparalleled scenario dominated by fear and uncertainty. Even though fear is an essential adaptive mechanism that humans and other species have developed to cope with threats in the environment, it can only be supportive for those who feel capable of dealing with the menaces presented, specifically to them. To those who consider themselves as unable to handle such risks, fear can trigger defense responses. Sorry. So the as I mentioned, among participants of of the 27% reported feeling anxiety and 15% depression. So I forgot the words, but I meant to a research that in a survey that has been performed in USA. So the 27%, sorry, reported feeling anxiety and the 15% depression. For 30%, the main reason influencing the current emotions is the economic situation, which also involves the mental health. So the general objective with this research, we want We plan to study human behavior and the different scenarios where a person could develop a problem due to the pandemic to apply the knowledge acquired and help people who are going through this situation. And the specific objectives are search for articles related to updated information on the population affected by the pandemic. Consider the graphs and charts updated of the increase or decrease of emotional or social behaviors due to the pandemic. And put information about the best ways to act, both as persons who feels identified and as a people who can help someone to go through this situation. So as we can see here, we have the methodology and instruments. This is a perceived impact of the coronavirus pandemic on mental health in Mexico as of May 2020. So the first cases of COVID-19 recorded in Mexico were recorded on February 28th of 2020. As a result, lockdown measures were installed by the federal government through a program known as Jornada de Sana Distancia. The lockdown was in place in a national level between March 23 and May 20 of 2020. According to a survey carried out in the country during May 2020, almost half respondents considered their mental health to have been very or somewhat affected by the situation. In comparison, the 22% of the Mexicans surveyed stated not feeling at all affected. So, as we can see here, we have demographic characteristics of nationally representative samples of US adults before and after the COVID pandemic and association with depression symptoms. So here, as we can see, we have that a total of 458 participants, that are the 8.5%, had depression symptoms before COVID-19, and 382 participants, that are the 27.8%, had depression symptoms during the COVID-19. Higher levels of depression symptoms were observed in all demographic groups during COVID-19 compared with before, with more than threefold higher prevalence of depression symptoms in general. So the distribution of depression symptoms within the demographic categories were consistent with patterns observed before COVID-19. For example, before and during the COVID-19, women were more likely to have depression symptoms than men. So before it was like, for example, 277 women, that is the 10.1%, versus 181 men, that is the 6.9%. And during, it was 233 women, that is the 33%, and the men, the 149 men during, that is the 21.9%. And for race or ethnicity, non-Hispanic Asian individuals saw an 18.7 percentage point higher prevalence of depression symptoms during the COVID-19 compared with the before COVID-19. That are 8 participants, that is the 23.1%, and versus 26 participants, that are the 4.4%. So in conclusion, I think that this topic is very important because I think that as a persons, we don't take the mental health too seriously, and we should. So that's why we have here all the charts, all the tables that says that we really have been affected by the pandemic, and we sometimes we don't take that too seriously. That's why I decided to do this study.